Hello, welcome to the Inspiring Inking Facebook page and the Inspiring Inking YouTube channel. I'm Amanda Fowler. It's the 10th of May 2022. Thank you so much if you are joining me live. And if you are watching the replay, thank you very much for joining me as well. Do leave comments, whether you're live or the replay. I respond to them all, and I love to hear from you. So if you're watching live, can you just let me know, see if everything is, okay, that the lights and the sound and everything's working. It looks like it's working from where I'm sat, but there are times when it doesn't. It looks like I'm live or where I should be. So how are we today? It's actually been drizzling and raining today. The garden seriously needs some rain, that is for sure. So yeah, it's a bit cold and rainy. Hello, Marianne. She's from Perth in Western Australia, and it's all good on YouTube. Awesome. And Lorraine's on YouTube as well. Hello. She's saying hello to everyone. And Michelle's here, and she's saying hello to everyone as well. That is lovely. So what have you been up to this past week? Is it only a week since I last spoke with you? We've had a busy old weekend. We were in the shower room all weekend. That sounds kind of a bit weird, doesn't it? But for those of you that don't know, we are fitting out a downstairs shower room. So currently it's just walls. So we are doing everything. So the tiling and the plumbing and the electrics that we're allowed to do, and then we have to get an electrician to finish off. So we're starting from scratch, and of course the things that we want to do are never straightforward. I think the issue is that we like certain things. So the tiles that I've picked are about 4 foot tall. So they're not 4 foot tall. I think they're 3 foot actually, but they're huge. And we've got some mosaics to go in. But before any of that can go in, we've had to build a platform for the shower tray to sit on, and we've been stripping walls and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, so Brian's shoulder is improved, so we are moving apace with that. And then Sunday we went off up to near Gatwick, Crawley, to a bonsai show, and had a lovely walk out, and we went to the show, and we had some nice coffee and cake and ice cream for lunch. Not exactly the most nutritious of lunches, but actually it was very tasty. So we had a really lovely day, a really lovely chill out. So let's see. Oh, so many people here now. Let's have a look. Deborah's here. Calgary is in the house. They had snow yesterday. Snow in May, Deborah. That's crazy. But it's all melted. It's going to be a lovely day. Chris and Angela are here from Newbury. Sunny now. And they only had a little bit of rain, but she's just saying that they didn't have enough rain. I know, I agree. Look, fizzy water instead of coffee today. I've had too many coffees already, so decided that I'd drink some water whilst I'm chatting to you. Scylla is here. Hello. Stella's here from Texas. Anne, Roz, Karen. Oh, Janet's here. Hope the leak's been fixed. Well, yeah, I'll tell you about the leak in a minute. Hi, Valerie. Florida is in the house. Karen's here. Hello, Karen. How are you? And Anne, and she's saying hello to all the crafty pals. Exactly. You are all awesome. And we are it's such a great community here. And Donna's here. She's from Oz. And Lucianne's here as well. Hello, hello, hello. So to answer Janet's question, has the leak been fixed? No. The leak has not been fixed. We've got a water pipe leak that is actually leaking under our block driveway. So there is a tiny bit of me that worries that it's we're gonna end up with a sinkhole in the drive. So when I park the car, I make sure I don't park it over where the leak is. But no. So the engineers that came out to last week, which is why I was late last week, have come back to us. They're now sending out a surveyor because we're not sure what we should do. I think we've probably decided we're going to repipe the whole lot from the meter, which is in the street, all the way through our garden into our house. Just because it's a 50-year-old pipe. It's had one leak. Who's to say that it's not going to be more leaks? And as I've said before, the pipe actually runs under the extension that we built 10 years ago. So, because it's a concrete floor, we've got no way of knowing if there's a leak there. So again, it would be a sinkhole before we figured it out, which, you know, we don't need that. So yes, it's going to be more expensive and disruption and all kinds of stuff. But that's why the surveyor's coming out. Okay, I'm going to just have to go a second because the doorbell's rung and I'm the only person here and I'm expecting a delivery. Chat amongst yourselves. Thanks very much. Thank you. Bye. I definitely need to get a fitter. Oh, run up and down the stairs. That was the UPS man. See, I told you it was an important delivery. Hooray, that's more stuff. That's craft along stuff, actually, everyone. So I can get on with that this week. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Oh, dear me. We've got so, you know, when you've made it, when you end up with people who shouldn't be on your stream leaving comments. So I'm really sorry if anyone saw the inappropriate comment that was just on here, but I've just blocked that person. Right, okay. So who else is here? Jenny, Jan, Tessa. Oh, Valerie's saying she's loving all of the blue yarn behind me. So, and she wants to know the names of it. So these ones up here are by Ice Yarns, which is a company in Turkey. And they sell the most amazing yarns. It's really, really, really cheap yarn. They ship everywhere in the world, but they have expensive shipping costs. So you kind of have to balance it out. But let me just show you. This is just really beautiful. It's got like a shimmer. And then these ones are all drops. So they're all wool yarns, different types. That's a cotton yarn. And then this one, yeah, it's Ice Yarn. So that's the company. Love this. This is one of my favorites, called Saver. It's really cool. And like I said, really, really cheap. And lovely. you know, really nice yarn. So it is my intention. I know lots of you are waiting for some more crochet stuff, and it's coming, I promise. And I will be doing kind of some yarn haul type things, like, yeah, so explanations of different types of yarns and things I like and so on. But I thought they looked much prettier there than in the boxes. So let's have a look. Oh, Scylla, no. Scylla fell into a sunken grave and fractured her ankle. Oh, no. Goodness me, that's not so good. Germany's in the house. Hello, Cart & Co. Jenny says somebody, oh no. She knows someone who tripped over the contraption that the coffin goes in, and they fell into the open grave. Donna's saying it's a week for breaks. She broke a bone in her foot as well as sprained her ankle. Oh no. Stunning colours, says Valerie. Makes you want to take up her crochet needles. Absolutely. You so need to do that. I love my crochet because when I'm crocheting, I can't actually do anything else. And I get the same, gives me the same kind of kick as when I'm paper crafting, in the sense that, you know, it gives me time out, I guess, which is really lovely. But it's something that I can do kind of in front of the telly, or, you know, so it's, yeah, it's good. I love it. Mum's here. Hello, Pauline. Jenny has 2 ragdoll kittens that are 10 weeks old. We need pictures of those, Jenny. You need to send me some pictures, and then next week I can share the pictures, if you will allow us, because, you know, who doesn't love pictures of kittens? I have had a few cards and a few emails with pictures of things that you've made. I will be sharing them next week. So if you've got anything else that you want to share, let me just pop my email address up there, amanda@inspiringinking.com. You can send me some pictures, and I can share them with everyone. So that would be really, really lovely. Okay, so in the world of Stampin' Up, we've got the awesomeness that is, ooh, it's really reflecting, this new annual catalogue. We've got a few weeks left of this one. Now, I should know this, but I don't. The things that are in here that didn't make it into here will have a retiring list. I'm guessing it's going to be the end of May. They've probably told us, but I've forgotten, honestly. But I will make sure that when I send out emails and things, or maybe next week, I'll let you know when it's going to be. I would just say, don't wait. If there's stuff in here that you want and you can see it hasn't made it into this book, then chances are it's retiring. There are usually a few items that kind of get held over. So till next January. So for instance, I'm not going to pick anything just in case I'm wrong. But for instance, if there was like an Easter set, that kind of doesn't make sense to have it in the autumn winter catalogue. then maybe that will make it through. But I don't know. So until we get the list, I won't know what is carrying forwards and so on. Since last week and the catalogue launched, I have welcomed lots of new team members to my team. And I'm really excited because they, like you, have been chatting with me over the time and love the products, and decided that now was the right time for them to join. And I say this all the time, it's always the right time to join, and the right time to join is when you're ready. But the deal that it's Stamping Up is running at the moment is just ridiculous. You get £192 worth of products for £99. There's no postage to pay. You get all of the new ink pads, the 5 new ink colours. You get some very snazzy grid paper, some a mixed pack of card and patterned paper, all in the new ink colours, as well as £130 worth of products. And those products are products that you choose. So it's not like a specific kit that you get regardless. That's kind of how it was when I joined. But you can pick whatever it is that you want. So it is a super great deal. You have till the end of September to meet your first quarterly minimum to stay as a demonstrator. In that time period, you'll be getting your discount. And you will also get to see the autumn winter catalogue launching first. So it's a really exciting time. And, we have a great team community, and I would love you to join or have a chat with me about it. People always have questions. So if you want to talk to me about it, send me an email, send me a message, and I can give you a ring. Okay, let's check in on the comments. Lots of healing vibes and wishing everyone speedy recoveries. Valerie, thank you. June the 1st is when the retiring list goes out. She was looking for the date last week. Good morning, Diane. She's in Michigan. Brilliant. So Jenny's put pictures of her kittens. I was about to say puppies. No, they're kittens. In the Inspiring Inking Crafting Corner group. And good afternoon, Deborah. Awesome. Okay. So just before I get crafting, I just wanted to mention something. I was talking to the team this morning, and for those of you, ciao, Paul. Paul's in Italy, so he's saying hello. I was talking to the team, and every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, I go live with the team and I talk to them about Stamping Up current updates and do a bit of training sometimes, or we talk about all sorts of different things. And sometimes I talk about things that kind of relate to business and to us personally. And today I talked about disruption and how disruption can be a good thing. And one of my favorite quotes is, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that, I think, can really be true for so many things in our lives. I want to get fit, but actually I don't do exercise. Or you always eat cake, for instance. That's something. You have cake with your afternoon tea every day. your afternoon cup of tea every day, and actually you can't ever lose any weight. So you're doing the same things again and again and again, and it affects you in different ways. And one of the things that I was saying was it is really interesting and can be very beneficial to disrupt an action and make a change. So, for instance, if you, I don't know, like me, lose your keys all the time. So I am, you know this about me, I'm creative, I'm messy, I can work in absolute chaos. I must take some pictures sometimes of my desk when I'm actually creating, because it is, well, anyone else would just go, how are you doing that? But it works for me. And I work in chaos. And as a consequence of that, I'm forever putting things down and nothing kind of, I just, you know, I'm moving on to the next thing. And I think that's another one of my personal traits, really, is I move from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. I don't ever kind of sit still for very long. So I'm always moving. And the disruption that happened to keep my keys in the right place, well, it came in the form of my husband, who is a very tidy person. He's an engineer and everything has its place. And, you know, he knows he can walk into the garage where all his tools are, and I could ask him for a specific spanner or tool, and he would be able to walk directly to the place and get the thing, because he knows where everything is. So Brian, I think obviously I was driving him crazy that I could never find my keys. So his disruption was to make me a beautiful key pot. It's out of acrylic, and it's kind of, it's really weird shape and form. And he gave me this as a pot to keep my keys in. So he disrupted my whole, you know, scatterbrain, everything goes everywhere, because he made me this pot, and I put my keys in the pot because he made me the pot. And the keys are always in the pot. So there are ways that you can disrupt the things that we do all the time to make a change. So disruption sometimes can be good. So I would love to know if any of you can think of something that you could disrupt to make a change, because, you know, there are things that we can do in our world. So let's see who else has joined. Jane and Joanne. She's saying hello to everyone, and she also loses her keys, and she's asking if my key pot is blue. It isn't, actually. It's acrylic. It's clear acrylic, and it's kind of a really abstract-y shaped thing. You know, it's very weird. So yeah, so disruption can be a good thing. So what I'm kind of saying is, think about things in your life that you want to change and see how you can disrupt it and kind of divert something or move something, change something, and see what effect it has. So today we're going to be talking about heat embossing, and we haven't done this for a while. And I was kind of wondering, why haven't I got my heat gun out recently? And it's the same as everything, isn't it? You get distracted by new stuff. You're playing with different things, and actually you find that you stop using certain things. So I thought it would be a really good idea for us to get our heat guns out. And for those of you that have never done heat embossing, to find out a little bit more about it. So how many of you have a heat gun and heat embossing? And when did you last do some heat embossing? Put comments in there whilst I switch things around. I've got to get my heat gun plugged in. And let me just move that bit. Da-da-da. There we go. So let's see. Can you still hear me and see me okay? I have tried to make sure that the microphone is done correctly. So lots and lots of comments coming in. I will read them in a moment. So you will find the heat embossing products on page 128 and 129 of the annual catalogue. Now, I'm just going to go through the things that I think are vital and then the things that you can kind of pick and choose from. So in order to do heat embossing, you need a heat gun. For preference, one like this that has a little stand on it. So this is the Stamping Up one. The reason I say it needs a little stand is so that you can pop it on your table. This bit, even though this is plastic, it can get hot. So you really want some kind of stand for it to go on. I'm just going to plug it in and check it's working. So this heat tool has got 2 heat settings. So it's got a low, there's a thing there. It's got a low and a high, okay, which is also really good. So you need a heat gun. You need this. This is absolutely, in my world, non-negotiable if you are heat embossing. You can see it here in the catalogue, and it starts out life like this beautiful cream colour. But this Versamark ink pad has glycerin in it, and it attracts dust, dirt, glitter, whatever, and it never stays that pristine creamy color, so don't worry. But this Stamping Up don't make an embossing ink of their own, and I'm really pleased they don't, because this is the best one on the market. So it is awesome. You can actually use it for stamping on colored card, so I will show you that in a minute actually, because this is like a top tip for if you don't happen to have the right color of card. So that's your next thing. And then you need embossing powder. Now, embossing powder or embossing powders are not created equally. And if you have had embossing powders that you've had for 100 years and they're not that great, then it's probably time for you to upgrade to some Stamping Up ones. Can you see how fine that is? So these embossing powders are so fine, they will work on really detailed images. Now, I keep mine in a big tub with a spare one in here, and there's probably two tubs worth in here already. And I do that so that I can just hold the card over it, and you'll see in a minute. But basically, it just means then I don't have to put it on paper and then tip it back into the box and so on. So you can get lots and lots of different colours of embossing powders. Stamping Up do 6, and they do them in 2 sets of 3. So there's one set which has white, black and clear, and then one set which has copper, gold and silver. I'm actually using the gold today and the clear today for different purposes, and you'll see as we go how they work out. Okay, so those are the kind of the key things. So your heat gun, your embossing powder and your Versamark, and they will work on any of your stamps. So let's see what everyone's saying about embossing. Anne said a fortnight ago. Lorraine hasn't done any recently. Anne saying years ago. She's got no idea where a heat gun is. 6 months ago. Christmas cards. Tessa says she has a heat gun with a huge variety of embossing powders, but not use them for a very long time. Karen says she gets very messy, so she doesn't do it that often. Diane says she heat embosses, but not lately. And oh no, Anne's knitting whilst watching, and she's just pulled the stitches off that she needs. Oh dear, Anne. It's tricky when you're doing more than one thing at once. Okay, so I am using Happiness Abounds. This is, as I have said already, one of my favourite stamp sets from the new catalogue. I love the flower images. I love the papers that it goes with. We're using this in the craft along at the end of the month. But I just love these happy birthdays and best wishes and friend. These are just really lovely. So I'm using that. And we'll start out. We're going to start out with browns and crumb cake. So I've actually got crumb cake. I'm actually going to be stamping on the crumb cake. And I'm going to use the very vanilla as a layer. Just a kind of matten layer like so. So let me get that. I'm going to use the flower, this open rose stamp. And I just want to show you first, I've got a piece of Highland Heather. I just want to show you first, if you use the Versamark ink on coloured cardstock, it gives you like a watermark kind of image. Basically what it does is it will show as a darker image on your coloured cardstock. Now, a couple of things to note. Firstly, this is an embossing ink, so it stays wet for quite a while. So if you're using it in this way, so you can get a tone-on-tone effect, make sure you leave it time to dry. Okay, so don't go straight to it and think you can work on it, because you will need time for it to dry, or just, you know, go over it with the heat gun. When I inked it up, I picked up the ink pad and tapped. Okay, that's because this is a standard ink pad. It's not a posh Stampin' Up ink pad. It's a standard ink pad. So in order to get the ink to flow to the top, you tap, tap, tap like this. Stampin' Up ink pads, the ink is stored upside down always. So the ink is always on the top, so you can easily pick up the ink that way. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, but look how cool that is. So if you don't have the perfect colour of ink to go with your cardstock, and you want a tone-on-tone effect, use your Versamark. Okay, right. So we're going to get the crumb cake card. And I'm going to stamp these roses. I'm going to do 3 stamps and then put the embossing powder on and then do 3 more. Basically, I don't want the ink to dry. It should be okay, but I just want to make sure that it gets the powder on it. So now you'll be able to see why I have a big tub, because this is what I do. I scoop it up with my teaspoon and cover it all over and give it a flick like that. Now, because I'm how can I show you? I'm watching the screen, which is in front of me, not watching what I'm doing. Look, so I've got embossing powder on there. It can be a little bit messy, but so long as you make sure that you cover it over when you're doing the heating, you'll be fine. So I'm going to get my silicone mat and let me see, have I got a paintbrush? So can you just see just here, there's a little bit of embossing powder where I don't want it. So if you get a dry paintbrush and just dust it off, it will come off. Okay, so let me give you my top tips of heat embossing. The first is you need to hold your heat gun about 2 inches, 5 centimeters away from your card. You want to hold it steady in one place and then move it along the powder. Don't waft it around like this, like it's a hairdryer. It's not a hairdryer. And you just want to melt the powder, because basically what this is this powder will melt and give you this beautiful glossy edge or glossy design. Don't hold it too long in one place, because what will then happen is instead of having the raised edge, the raised embossing, it will melt so much it will go into the cardstock and it will go completely flat. So you don't want it to do that either. Now, I know that this is going to be loud. So if you've got your volume up, I would turn your volume down, because I don't want to switch the microphone off, because I want to be able to talk to you in a second. Okay, so I'm going to put it on. And it heats up really quickly. And I'm going to start in this top section here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it up. Can you see? Right, I'm just switching that off. I'm just going to hold this up so you can actually see. I need to try and find the place. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to hold it there, and you can see this is gold already, and I'll chase the powder along this way and you'll see it melt. How cool is that? Okay, so going to go again. I'm going to do the opposite corner this time. Now, the reason I used that silicone mat was to protect the paper underneath and my mat underneath. Obviously, if you have got a beautiful oak table or something like that, please don't melt your embossing powder on your very fine dining room table. So there we go. Just going to give it a flick. And I've got a little bit there. So a dry paintbrush means that you can just get any little bits off. Right, let's pop that away. Bring that back in. Okay, so this time I'm just gonna do it, and you'll see how quick it will go. There you go. So there it is, all beautifully done. And, you know, it looks like the best gold foiling. It is just so, so pretty and so quick to do. So I'm just going to stamp the happy birthday. I've got some espresso ink I'm going to put across the middle. Oh. Actually, we're going to go this way round. There we go. So let's get that all matted and layered up. So this is crumb cake that I've embossed on, and I'm putting onto vanilla. And then, ooh. I'm going to put it onto another piece of vanilla. That has just oozed out everywhere. Every now and again, have a bit of a blowout with the Tombow, and that's what happened. So let's do that again. There was no saving that piece of cardstock. Just tuck that inside. And then let's just pop that there. There we go. There is your completed card. So really, really simple, but the gold foiling on there is so pretty. Let's just stamp the flower on the inside and get that decorated as well. Put that away. Lots of love for the embossing. There we go. It's always so difficult to catch it on camera, but it is so shiny and raised as well. So really, really cool. Okay, so let me just clean off my stamps. So that is standard embossing, coloured embossing. So you could do this type of card with the black or the white or the copper or the silver, and you will get that great effect. But obviously within Stampin' Up, we have lots and lots of other colours, and you might want to be able to stamp, or sorry, to heat emboss in other colours. So it is possible to do that, but you have to be a little bit quick. Not, you know, not the speed of light quick, but a little bit quick. Okay. So on this piece of vanilla card, I'm going to, this is Mango Melody. I'm going to stamp in Mango Melody. And I've got my tub. This is clear embossing powder. And what we're going to do is we're going to ink up the stamp in Versamark first. You have to do it this way round, okay? This is a non-negotiable. It has to be this way round. Let me just make sure that's clean. So, Versamark first. Then ink it up on your Stampin' Up ink pad and stamp it down. Then cover with your clear embossing powder. And I'm hoping that you can see that powder on there. Cover that over. Always make sure that you cover it over, as otherwise it will blow all over the place. And let's do this. So if you look at this now, it looks kind of dull. Let's just heat this up. And you see how the colour's changing. There we go. A tiny bit of speck of dust in there. But oh, let's just hope that the camera's going to pick this up. Let me just kind of do that. But so that means that you can get embossing in any colour of Stampin' Up ink. So you ink up your stamp with your Versamark and then your Stampin' Up colour. Basically, this ink is, because it's glycerin, it's not going to affect your Stampin' Up ink pad. It's just lifting a bit more ink so that you've got the colour on there. So it's really definitely possible to get different, what am I trying to say? To get different colours of embossing. What I would say is do 1 or 2 images at a time. Don't leave it. Because you want to make sure that the ink doesn't dry. All right, let's just clean this off, because we're going back to clear in a second. There we go. Okay. So one of the other things that I love to do with heat embossing is to use it as a resist. And by that, I mean to use it to add water and do watercolor effects. So here I've got a piece of shimmery white card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp all over. I'm going to make a whole background using this image. And I'm going to emboss it in clear. You could emboss it in white, but I've actually got my clear out, so I'm going to use clear. I'm going to stamp 2 or 3 images and then emboss them and then do 2 or 3 more, just to make sure that the embossing ink doesn't actually dry. So we'll just do it in stages. Oh, and it just takes a second. So can you see? I don't know. Can you see? Oh, phew. At least it didn't land face down. Okay. So I'm going to do a few more. And then I'll emboss them. And then I'll do the last few. Okay. I really do think that one of the most important things that you can learn with your heat embossing is not to waft your heat gun about, because it can blow the powder off as well. If you've left the ink for any length of time before you put the powder on it and your embossing powder hasn't stuck, it can be a real problem. So there we go. Let's just do those last 2. Okay, so I'm hoping that you can see this now with its embossed images. And actually, that looks really pretty as it is. But what I'm going to do, just get that cut away, is I'm going to bring in a water spritzer and some re-inkers. And you know, I think that you should always buy a re-inker when you buy an ink pad, so that you don't end up missing out. So the colours that I've got are Mango Melody, Pumpkin Pie, Daffodil, and Crushed Curry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my water spritzer, and I'll just see if I can just do one at a time. But I've spritzed it, and I'm hoping that you'll see that the water is pooling in between all those petals. So what I'm then going to do is dot in those little areas, and it's going to put in water and the colour. Now, had I thought about this earlier, I would have actually done one to show you. But but what's going to happen is you're gonna have to wait to see this until it's up on my blog later, because it's not going to be dry in time. Darn. I'm hoping that you're actually going to get the gist of it, though. Do you have to make sure that you've got plenty of water? You can, of course, do this on watercolor paper as well. I don't think it's showing up at all. Yeah, you can see it a little bit now. It's all gone quiet because I'm concentrating. Although I'm not actually seeing any comments coming in. So it could be I'm frozen. Let's just bring out some of the darker tones as well. You know, from a distance, this looks a hot mess. Close up, it's not looking any better. This normally looks so much better. I don't know what's going on. So I think what I'm just going to do is I'm going to run downstairs and go and get some watercolor paper. Hold on a second. Goodness me. Well, even going away and coming back, it's not actually looking a whole lot better. Oh dear. Right. Okay. Let's just have a quick drink of water. And a moment to chill. And let's see I'm just going to, what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to do 3 roses here on the watercolour paper. Famous last words, because I can't see where that's going. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, it will just fit. Joanne says, you're all concentrating with me. I think you're probably all having your fingers and your toes and your eyes crossed that it's actually going to work. I'm not entirely sure why it's not working, but we'll see. We will see. So let's just get the heat gun going. Okay, so this is watercolor paper. I'm hoping that you can see the roses on it. So I'll get some grid paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spritz the back of this so that it doesn't bend too much. So whenever you put water on paper, it curls. So by doing the back of it first, it will, in theory, not run so much. So can you now see the water pooling? So let's just see. Yeah, that's so much better. So I'm just touching the puddles of water, if you like, with the re-inker, and it's resisting the outer edge where the embossing powder is. And what it's actually doing is it's just filling in the rest of the area where the water is. So what I'm doing is I'm just pulling the different colours, and that will give me kind of a tonal effect on my roses. And this will be so much better when it's dry. But the colour is sitting so much nicer, so much more nicely. Than it was. There we go. And you're still not going to be able to see it fully, but at least it's a whole lot better than it was before. Okay, so we've got a few little bits that are joining up. So what I will do when this has dried is I will actually cut these out. And I don't know how well you can kind of see. So if you look if you look at the image, you can see the individual petals. Well, that's kind of what's happening here. But where the water has kind of gone over the top, it has blended a bit. So right now, that doesn't look amazing. But I promise it will be. So the things that we've learnt today is that this technique definitely works better if you've got watercolor paper. It definitely works better with watercolor paper. And that I needed to have had a sample to cut and show you. Yeah, so Roz is saying it's looking better on watercolor card. It's not difficult for it to look better because look at the hot mess that is. To be honest, though, it's actually quite interesting. I think I'm just going to move that to one side. I think this can be rescued. I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm just going to cover it all over with water again and just use one of the paler colours just to pull in the background and some of the darker bits. And it's possible that it might be rescuable, but you'll have to go to my blog tomorrow to find out, because it's going to take that long. I was going to put the blog post up today, but it'll take till tomorrow for it to actually dry enough for me to be able to work with it. So let's just fill in those gaps a little bit. You know, it's never a mistake. It's just an experiment or an opportunity to put a butterfly over the top. I'd probably need quite a few butterflies on this, but you know, there you go. Let's just see. Okay, there we go. That is, again, it's kind of a hot mess, but we'll see. You'll have to let me know tomorrow, no, next week, what you thought. This is drying beautifully though, so you can see it's drying much better. This is a lot flatter and a lot wetter, but we'll see. So let me just, oh dear. Let me just bring in one card that is finished, although I'm going to put that down there because the reality is I've got so much ink and stuff on there. Just squash that down a bit. There we go. So there is one beautiful card and potential of one or maybe two cards. We will see how it all turns out. But as I said before, Versamark ink is what you want, the heat gun and the embossing powders, and they're all available in my online store. I'll put some clickable links on Facebook and YouTube so that you can go direct to my online store and get any additional supplies that you need. Do dust off your embossing powders and things if you haven't given them a go for a while. And you know, check, you might just need a re-inker for your Versamark. Check your embossing powders. What you're looking for are really fine powders. The embossing powders from years and years ago, and remember, I've been stamping for a very long time, they used to be quite granular, and that works if you've got a solid stamp. But when you've got something like this, when you've got something like this that's really fine and detailed, you need fine embossing powders as well. Deborah's saying, do embossing powders expire? No, they don't, Deborah. They should be fine to go on forever. What I would say is give them a go and see if they're working as well as you would like them to work. Quite often it could be because your Versamark's dry. So check that before you go replacing all of your embossing powders. But check them. And if they work well, then absolutely just hang on to them. If they don't, then you might need to replace a few. So thank you so much. Lots of lovely comments. And saying it's rarely a complete disaster. I better make something wonderful from it. Yeah. I don't know. It's a piece of paper only a mother could love, I think. But we'll see. Who knows? But I have great hopes for these. Great hopes. They're very cool. So there we go. Okay. So I will see you all back here next week, Tuesday at 2 o'clock UK time, as always. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.